this right now. This is not my normal live video. And the reason why I'm standing here in the woods and right next to a big cell tower, big mobile cell phone tower, is that my internet went down this morning in the house. And normally I'd be running a very short 20-minute webinar for my Evolutionary Flow course. So this course starts with, it's a 10-day course. You start with a nice long webinar at the beginning, and then every day I'm introducing new ideas, different practices for just 15-20 minutes each day. And today, of course, I couldn't do that because the internet went down. So as an experiment, I'm standing by the cell phone tower in order that I can make use of the 4G. I'm probably getting bombarded with now waves of EMF, I'm sure. It'd be nice as well to be out here in nature. So I figured this would be a good thing to do, especially since one of the things we're going to discuss today will be exactly that, the whole idea of being in nature and something called the Schumann resonance. Now, for those watching, this is primarily for those that are doing my course, because normally they get that live session with me, and else if I didn't do this, they wouldn't get that. So for you guys watching, we will go through this in a normal fashion. For anybody that's watching that's not on the course, this is a nice opportunity for you to see what this course entails to an extent. Now, good morning. Morning, or in fact, it's afternoon here. But anyway, hello to you. And I will see some of the statements and questions. So do pump them through if you want to have a chat. You may as well make use of this time. As I said, this is an experiment for me as it is for you. So I'm now going to talk as if I'm talking to those participants on my course. So anybody else watching, you're very welcome to chime in with any questions. I may not necessarily see them straight away, but I'll try to answer them as and when I can. Normally on the course, I would guide the participants through the use of something called the Flow Hub portal, which is what we use on the course to show you different practices. And one of the practices I was going to take you through today, let me just see. Morning all, hello from Maine, hello Philip, big hello from Denmark. Nice to see you all. So the first bit that we would normally do is we practice some kind of very simple breath exercise. And we've been practicing till now things like the dolphin breaths. We've been talking about Ujjayi breath. And today I was going to take you through a short slow breath routine that's in the Flow Hub 7 portal. And by the way, for those watching, the Flow Hub 7 portal is something that you'll get access to by being on the course. Now, since we can't do that, I'm going to take you through something very similar. And it's the Buteyko breathing exercise. We're going to do it maybe for 2 or 3 minutes. And I want you to all join in with me as we do this. So if you're watching and you're seated, sit comfortable, make sure your back is straight. And I want you to now take a big deep breath in through your nose, all the way. Remember diaphragmatic breathing, so breathing from the belly as you breathe in, stomach goes out. And then exhale and drop your shoulders as you do so. Give your arms a shake. And again, let's do it again. Inhale all the way through the nose, exhale, drop your shoulders as you relax. As Wim Hof might say, letting go. Okay, now, this breathing exercise is done through the nose, and I want you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And I'm hovering my hands here for a very good reason, because what I want you to do is imagine the breath being a cyclical breath. So that's it. Breathe now through the nose and out through the nose. Diaphragmatic breathing. So focus on your belly. I can see my camera lens there is having problems focusing. I think it's because I'm using the front of the mobile phone that I'm using. Hopefully you can bear with it. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. Now, concentrate on your belly. So in, belly protrudes. out, belly moves back in. Imagine the breath in this smooth, cyclical fashion. No pause at either end. So in and then out. There's no pause. And when you're breathing in, notice the cold air. I can certainly feel it. I'm outside. Cold air going through your nostrils and the warm air exiting your nostrils. So focus on that. And whilst you're doing this, now start to slow down your breathing. In through the nose, out through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose. Cold air as it enters the nose, warm air as it exits. And the whole idea with this exercise is that you start to slow it down. And you want to slow it down to a point where you feel like you need to take in more air. Your brain is sending you the signal that you need to take in more oxygen. You don't need to. And what I want you to get to is this contradictory statement of being comfortably uncomfortable. So, and what I mean by that is that you're taking in less oxygen, breathing out less CO2. Your breathing pattern has slowed. And that's really the whole idea of this exercise. Just slowing down your breathing is wonderful in itself. And if you are breathing, let's say, in a 4/4 rhythm, that's wonderful for heart coherence. It's wonderful for bringing balance to your autonomic nervous system. But even if you're not, if you're just breathing slowly through the nose, both in and out, that will have a wonderful effect on the system. It will calm you down, bringing you balance to your psychology. So if you've stepped away from the computer, this is a nice exercise to do. So that's simple, isn't it? It's the kind of thing that everybody can remember. Keep practicing that every day. It's one of those breathing exercises that you don't need to be wary about having a counter breathing exercise to balance that of this. And what I mean by that is that I think there are lots of people out there that do the Wim Hof method, and they only do that power breathing, forced Wim Hof method. A lot of people do that big chest breathing and through the mouth. And then they're finding a few weeks down the line that they're either getting headaches or that they're suffering in other ways. Maybe underlying conditions are being exacerbated. And that's because you're probably not doing that bit of the breathing right, but also you're not having some kind of balance to your breathing. You're not having a counter. I'm just going to read this. Hey, Jason, thanks, my man. So Jason just commented there. It's really nice of him to say. So he was on the first of the course that I started a couple of weeks ago. And what's lovely actually is that those that were on that first course, we're all now going to be meeting up once a month, and they've got a WhatsApp group, so they will continue engaging and chatting, hopefully, about these ideas and practices. So what I'm going to send, or what I'll drop below in the description, will be a link to a video that I've done before that takes you through Buteyko versus Wim Hof method versus SOMA. It's just a nice little exercise. Again, you can follow along, something you can watch if you need to get an idea of the differences, but also just to have some guidance on that Buteyko style slow breathing. Now, walking in nature, as we are in right now, this beautiful woodland, albeit right next to a blimmin' large cell phone tower, mobile phone tower. Walking in nature has many benefits. Even walking through nature and not doing anything other than walking has huge benefits, as you know. But there are other benefits that you can gain. And I've done a video on this, and I'll drop a link below for this as well. I've done a video on sensory walking. And this is a way of walking where you start to engage your senses. You start making use of your conch. You start smelling the smells around you. You start listening for the sound of the leaves, if there are any on the trees, rustling, or any other kind of nature-based sounds, you start becoming more aware of how you're moving, your sensomotoric sense. So you're becoming aware of how you're walking and whether or not you need to keep adjusting your balance. This is where, and I'm not doing a very good job of justifying this, but this is where those barefoot shoes are really useful. Right now I've got these big clodhoppers on. But quite often I'll either be barefoot or I might, have some barefoot shoes or whatever. The point of this is that by tapping into your senses, you're slowing down the prefrontal cortex. And part of what I describe and train on the course is something called transient hypofrontality. And this is that slowing down of the prefrontal cortex. And when you do that, not only do you start to feel and experience more flow in your life, but you keep practicing these exercises every day, different kinds of exercises that I take people through on the course. And eventually you'll start to experience these flow state moments where you're totally in the zone. To give you an example of that, this morning, the kind of experience that I had where I realized there was no internet and everything was down, a few years ago might have sent me into a little bit of a flap, as in, oh my God, what am I going to do? Whereas this morning, it was a very kind of calm, rational thought process of, there's an opportunity here. My brain didn't think about the problem. It just automatically thought, okay, maybe we'll try something new. Who knows whether it's going to work? But it's an opportunity to do something different. The other thing I wanted to mention here is something called Schumann resonance. Now, for some of you, this might be stepping into woo-woo territory. I happen to believe it, but there is, of course, an electromagnetic field that is the Earth. Your body is also an electromagnetic field. It's full of water. The resonance of the Earth's electromagnetic field is measured at 7.8 hertz, which coincidentally is exactly the same as the alpha theta brainwave pattern. Remember, your brain produces these brainwave patterns from alpha to theta. Gamma is the golden one. That's where you start experiencing these flow state moments. Theta, coincidentally, is the brainwave pattern that you're in just prior to sleep. So it's a wonderful, calm state just prior to falling off to sleep. So you can imagine that alpha theta brainwave pattern is a very balancing, calm, relaxed state to be in. So what happens when you walk in nature is the Earth's natural electromagnetic field eventually harmonizes. You get this harmonic effect between your body's electromagnetic field and that of the Earth. Now, I will admit, bringing technology in acts as a bit of a barrier. So ideally, you don't want to be talking in front of a camera like I am on your mobile phone with all the EMF and I'm right next to a cell tower. But normally, as I quite often do, you go for a walk in nature with Winston or anybody. If you're barefoot, even better. You're devoid of technology. And at some point, you'll notice a change. You'll notice this connection between you and nature, even if it's subtle. The more you practice and think about it, you'll notice this change. So again, I highly recommend that you do this. For those on the course, I'd love you to try this today. And if you can build in a breath walk, all the better. And the breath walk, by the way, is when you go for a walk and you start breathing to the steps of your walk. So what you've got to do first of all is just start walking and walk at a comfortable pace that feels natural. Then what you do is you start breathing in a 4-4 rhythm. That's probably the best to start because 4-4, again, 4-4 breathing pattern brings a coherence to your body. It brings a balance to it. You get this heart coherence. So you breathe 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out to the same walking pace that you're doing. And once you've got that connection between walking pace and breathing pattern, then try slowing down your breathing and see what happens to your walking pace. And then try the opposite. Quicken up your walking pace or even slow down your walking pace and notice how your breathing changes. And then once you've got used to that, try a different breathing pattern. Try a 2-4 breathing pattern, for example. The point here is, again, it's this whole idea of getting more in touch with your body. one of the things that we start losing, I think, especially when we have 9-to-5 jobs, we have commitments as a parent, we have commitments in Western society, we're just full of it, aren't we? Our brains are being consumed by all these things that stop us from acting with the world around us, interacting with others, making use of our body in the way that it should, push, pull, lift, touching nature around us. So all of our senses are not being engaged. So a lot of the practices that I teach are really just a way of engaging these senses again. And that's when you start to experience the slowing down of the prefrontal cortex. Now, what I think generally happens probably on the course is that I tend to bombard people with a whole load of ideas. And at some point they're thinking, how on earth do I remember all of this? Well, here's a really simple technique that is a wonderful way of starting to build habits into your day, into your routine. And it's one of those ideas that if you do this properly, these habits will stick. So I think for a lot of people, especially in January and February, they get these wonderful, enthusiastic, energy-driven moments where they're thinking, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try running. I'm gonna try whatever healthy exercise they fancy doing. I'm gonna go on a diet, etc. But of course it doesn't stick. And there's lots of reasons why that doesn't happen. But here's a really simple way of building it into your life. And it's called habit stacking. So let's say, I would imagine anybody watching right now probably has 1 or 2 healthy habits that they do naturally without thought, without any pre-thought. So let's break it down to the most simplest of exercises, such as brushing your teeth or having a shower. So the whole idea is you say to yourself this: after I've brushed my teeth, in brackets, a healthy habit that requires no thought, I'm going to do new habit, whatever that might be. So let's say you want to start doing cold showers, but for some reason your brain is giving you justifications why you shouldn't do it. Well, you simply tell yourself in the morning, after I've brushed my teeth, I'm going to have a cold shower. So because you've already got this preconceived, pre-designed healthy habit that you do without thought, such as brushing your teeth, at that point your brain is in the right state to have this extra added habit built on. And it can apply to any healthy habit. You just need to take that first healthy habit that you do already and build that new one that you've always wanted to build into your life, but for some reason you haven't been able to. You just build it onto the former. Once you've got the second one down, you can then start saying to yourself, after I've brushed my teeth and after I've had my cold shower, I will start doing the 5 Tibetan rites, or whatever it might be, whatever healthy exercise or practice that you fancy building into your life. So it's such a wonderful idea, and it's so simple, and it just works on building this pattern into your brain when your brain is in the right state, in this malleable state, positive state, in order to make the change. So a couple of things, those on my course, some reminders. First of all, systems check. If you haven't seen this video, I know that we've spoken about it before. Every morning, what I'd love you to do is to consider, and yes, you're right, it is the Atomic Habits book, which is a wonderful book. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to imagine you are the pilot of what is effectively your body, and that in order to get to the end of the day, your destination as pilot, you need to run a few pre-flight checks. Those pre-flight checks are those healthy habits that you do as you roll out of bed. For me, it's things like the 5 Tibetan rites, it's breath work, it's cold showers, etc., etc. So what I want you to start thinking about now is when you wake up tomorrow, start building this imaginary toolbox of the techniques and practices that we'll be learning throughout the course. Just get that image imprinted on your brain, because in the morning you're going to do your pre-flight checks. You're going to hit those switches, and it's all to do with, I suppose, checks on your gas exchange in your body, which can come from breath work. Getting a balance between your O2 and CO2 levels. It could just simply be the whole idea of doing yoga, or in my case, the 5 Tibetan rites, because you want to get the blood flowing around your body in the way that it should. So again, there's a couple of things ticked. Your muscles, you want to get them warmed up for the day. That's another switch ticked. And then throughout the day, you run in-flight checks. And these again are these different practices that you'll learn on the course, that you can crowbar into your day without much thought. And it starts to come in time. You know, I've got this imaginary toolbox that I can turn to now without much thought. You know, if I've been sat in front of the computer for an hour, I know all I've got to do is blah, 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 whatever that might be. So that's an image and a sort of a visionary tool. I want you to start thinking about it now, because I'm gonna keep reminding you about this. The other thing, and the last point to mention now, is intention. So Jason from the first course will know that I drill this every day. Intention is key, because how you intend to flow through the day is really the determining factor as to how you're going to end the day having achieved the things that you wanted to do, having got those things done that you really didn't want to do, but you knew you had to. So when you wake up, your intention should be, I intend to flow through the day making use of these practices, because by doing that, my mind is constantly in the right state. And by doing that in time, I'm going to experience more flow. I'm going to experience more flow state moments. My intention is to make use of these practices for life. I'm not doing it for 30 days to see what might happen. My intention is that I'm going to do these practices, have this change in my mindset, so that a new path is created. New ideas will come to me. All the opportunities that are normally presented to me that I ignore, I will start to take heed of. And that's what typically happens. Because when your mind, of course, is in the right state and you're not burdened by the negative introspection or the ups and downs of life, which, let's face it, we are all experiencing right now. When you're not burdened by that, good things come. And a lot of people describe it as law of attraction. I don't necessarily see it that way. I just see it in terms of when this is working properly and you've slowed down the prefrontal cortex and you've got this transient hypofrontality moment occurring regularly, good things happen simply because this is working properly and you're flowing through the day. There we are. Nice long ramble. I hope that was of interest, hopefully to those on my course who did get to see this. I hope I sent out the right link. And how long? Oh, so that was half an hour. So let me just check to see if there's any other questions or statements. Yeah, sorry about the camera. Again, I think it's because I'm using the front camera so that I can see what I'm doing. I hope it wasn't too trippy for you. You've been doing cold showers for 4 months. Oh, hang on. Hold it. Lukewarm, warm to start, 2 minutes maybe, then switch to all the way to cold for 3 minutes. How long do you do your cold showers? Thanks. So, this is a question that I probably get posed every day about cold showers. In my mind, in my opinion, when it comes to all of these practices, as soon as you remove the analytical mind, you are far better off. So instead of thinking about time, instead of thinking, especially in breath work, about the length of breath hold or whether you should be doing this or that, etc., remove what us blokes quite often like to think about and ponder on, the data and the analytics. You don't need any of that. So when you're in a cold shower, don't think about the time. Don't bring a timepiece with you. Don't wear a watch. Don't have any understanding of how long you're in there. Instead, go in there, turn it to cold, and start to breathe slowly. Aim the water if you can initially at the back of your head. Maybe start at your feet, because that's an easy way of just getting the cold flowing up to the top of your body. And instead of thinking, should I be in here for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, stay in there until your body, your core temperature feels warm. That's when you know you've been in there long enough. Now, if you're new to it, that's probably not the right course of action. If you're new to it, you might just want to go in there and just last as long as you can without screaming the house down too much. But if you've been doing it for a while and you can already last what you at the moment believe to be about a minute, then that's fine. No longer think about time, and instead just think about the experience itself, slowing down your breath. If you can, use your nose for breathing and slow it down. Start to experience and get in touch with the inner body, your inner senses. That's far more important. And when your body changes, the inner temperature, the core temperature changes, and you feel warm in there, and you're thinking, why on earth do I feel warm? That's when you know you've been in there long enough. You've experienced the transition. So, my opinion, of course, I'm not a doctor, I'm not medically trained. You, of course, want to get checked up by the doc if you're doing all this cold therapy stuff. I have to mention that now just because I know what this litigious world is like. So, hope that helps. Just started on my own path, 2 weeks in, but no, I will do this for life now. I resonate so much with removing as many gadgets as possible involved with anything to do with the body or nature. Yes, well said. Well said. Yeah, Kelly, don't worry. I mean, this is very typical. The sort of the analytical mind, you know, I did another video on this about Fitbit and the fact that we don't need a Fitbit. If you already run, you do not need a Fitbit. You don't need to know how many steps you're doing. And actually, you're far better off going for a walk or a run and just engaging your senses and enjoying the moment, enjoying the experience, rather than using your Fitbit, and then by the end of the walk, you then think, oh, bloody hell, I haven't done enough steps. You know, because again, your obsessive analytical mind starts kicking in. You've lost all the benefits. So I'm a big one for that. And it's funny because I recognize there are some people that like the whole idea of having something telling them how many steps they've done because it encourages them to do more. I get that, I understand it, but I just think you would be far better off just going for a walk and enjoying the experience, devoid of technology, and just going for as long as you feel is right. And probably you'll end up going for a longer time, simply because you're engaging in the walk itself, in your body, and it's far more relaxing, you know. Anyway, I think that is probably about it. Love that name, by the way, Runes of Passage. Right. Anyway, there we are, all done. Guys, thanks for watching. I know it was a bit longer than the normal one, as in for those on the course, I know it was a bit longer. For those that aren't on the course and you fancy doing it, I will drop a link below in the description. The next one should start, I think it's on the 8th of February. And by the way, it's constantly evolving. So the participants themselves are very much a crucial part of this course's growth. It's evolving. I'm changing my ideas as to what I'm putting out there, how I'm teaching it. This is a prime example. Maybe I should do more of this. Anyway, thank you for watching. TTFN.